Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nerd Impact Podcast. We're on episode 70, and today we're having I wouldn't say an in-depth analysis because there's too many albums, but we're looking at a broader spectrum of Nine Inch Nails, the industrial band from the late 80s, I want to say. Yep, late 80s, and they're still going, running today, presently. And like I said, there's an absolute ton of albums. So we won't be covering every album today. I think we'll just look at what influenced us, what kind of stuck around with us. This band for me in particular were quite a big band for me in school. So do you guys want to kind of talk about it first? I mean, I don't know how much Nine Inch Nails have impacted your life in comparison, but I thought it'd be a good one to change up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as with most things, this influence came from you. I remember very fondly, you know, in you had the small room, we'd both clamber in and whack on the Xbox, and for whatever reason, I think the game that comes to mind I associate with Nine Inch Nails the most was Mortal Kombat in my head. But obviously, at that time, things like Modern Warfare, what else was there?
Wanted Weapons of Fate.
Wanted Weapons, absolute sick game. But for me personally, I guess I only really ever stuck to With Teeth, which I imagine is probably most people's probably the most mainstream album. I mean, if you go with like What You Are, With Teeth, The Hand That Feeds, I mean Every Day, which is obviously probably the most popular song they've got.
No.
Closer, that sort of stuff. That's very much my influence. It hasn't probably impacted me heavily, I would say, but it's one of those bands I like to visit every now and then. Yeah, it's always just a real good listen.
Naf, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, we've covered some industrial music before with one of our first episodes with Daughters, and I mean, we'll try and ignore all that stuff with Alexis. Well, not ignore it, but you know what I mean. All that stuff with Alexis Marshall aside, we have covered this kind of music before, which so I obviously enjoy it, and I came pretty late to Nine Inch Nails, kind of embarrassing me. So to be fair, that I've heard of them a lot. You know, you hear a lot of people about wearing Nine Inch Nails t-shirts and that sort of shit at school, like. I was very much aware of them, but I'd never really sort of engaged with them past enjoying Every Day is Exactly the Same, thanks to Wanted, because that was fucking immense film of my child. Well, not so much my childhood, my early teens, I guess. But yeah, no, I sort of properly got listening to Nine Inch Nails right at the start of the pandemic, pretty much. So I remember walking around just at the base of Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, listening, because during the pandemic, you couldn't really go very far. So most of what I do is walk up and down Arthur's Seat, so big hill in the center of Edinburgh. And I'd walk up and down there. And so one of the days, I was basically sort of swapping albums as I would do it, try and get, have something different in the day, not just the same walk. And I put on the Downward Spiral for one of them, which probably wasn't like the best choice when you're already a little depressed in the pandemic. I think the Downward Spiral sort of maybe sent me on a downward spiral. So I don't know. I was saying to you earlier that the Downward Spiral is like a 2 hour and 15-minute album, and that's it's a meaty album. But having that level of sort of emotional sort of griminess for that long makes it a pretty hard, full on sit down listen. So primarily for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, Downward Spiral I can appreciate immensely how influential it is and how great it is, and I do enjoy it. I mean, how can you not enjoy shit like Closer and March of the Pigs? But it's just very intense of a listen. So primarily speaking, stuff like industrial, aside from You Won't Get What You Want, I guess, by Daughters, I won't really listen to a full album. So for me, sort of like Ben, it's the singles that sort of stick with me, and The Hand That Feeds, With Teeth, and as I said, the March of the Pigs, Closer, Every Day is Exactly the Same. Just primarily the big hits are definitely what I enjoy more. Which, a bit of poser shit.
At least you didn't listen to The Day the World Went Away during the pandemic, or if you did, that's pretty fucked up, I suppose. and a aptly fit song.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, but yeah, it's just a poor choice by me, to be fair. But what about you,
No,
Aidan?
yeah, I mean, funny enough, the day the world went away, that's where it kind of all started for me. So God, we're looking back in '09. It was the year of Nine Inch Nails, really, for films and
Mm,
myself in general. So me and my best mate from high school, we were obsessed with the Terminator franchise,
I
and
do remember
this was
this.
the year of Terminator Salvation, and they had the incredible trailer which had the day the world went away on.
Hmm.
Like the trailer made the film look way better than it was. It's a good film. It's fine. We'll
It's all right.
do that
Pretty
eventually.
mid, pretty mid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get onto the Terminator franchise eventually, but they just had that fucking amazing soundtrack to it. Just the acoustic kind of slow burn at the beginning, then when the trailer like hits that big part, you got like the breakdown of the day the world went away. So basically, we were like, "What the fuck? Like, yo, who is this? Like, we need to find this song." And we did. And then obviously, Wanted came out the same year, and Every Day is exactly the same was on that, and I was like, "Oh, Nine Inch Nails! Like, I already know one of theirs. I'll probably have a little bit more." So my best mate from school, whereas I enjoyed them, that became his band. Like he was obsessed with them.
Yeah.
He brought every album at that point. And to this day, as people who've listened to the Songs of the Week episode know, we went to see them live, me and my friend, literally 2 weeks ago, and they were fucking incredible. Like such a display, such a performance. Like vocally so on point. So it was really cool. It was like feeling like high school again because like that Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam, and like a few others. They were kind of like our high school bands. That's what we discovered in high school and like listened to together. So yeah, Nine Inch Nails was a really big one for me and my mate. So obviously it means quite a lot to me. It always reminds me of high school and kind of one of my best mates. And yeah, like obviously I dived into some of their albums. I did, like I've said at the beginning, I did bow out eventually. They went quiet after year zero for quite a long time, and I never really picked up on them afterwards, bar one or two.
Mm,
So we won't go into huge detail today, unfortunately, for major Nine Inch fans who are out there, because they've got so many remix albums and EPs and like instrumental only albums and stuff. And whilst for some people they might like lap that shit up,
mm,
I'm not that invested in them, but I
of
like a
course.
fair amount of them. So we'll skim through, and if anyone has any songs they want to talk about specifically, be it because of a memory or it just they like that song, we'll go for it. So we go all the way back to 1989 with the first release, Pre-Hate Machine, which I feel is one of their strongest albums. Personally, I think it just hits. It's got that '80s vibe to it, but it's so dark and broody as industrial is.
Mm,
Um, there's bloody loads on it. I mean, it opens up with Head Like a Hole, which again they played live recently, and it hits so well, so good. Um, Terrible Lie is a great one. Sanctify, they played that live, was quite an upbeat I suppose, but it like got the crowd going. My favorite off the album is Something I Can Never Have, which is just super moody and dark. Kind of Want to Sin, That's What I Get. Yeah, like they're the kind of ones that stand out for me.
mm,
Fantastic album, to be honest. I think it's one of my mate's favorite ones as well. Like I said, I didn't want to touch on EPs too much, but Broken's got quite some poignant songs on it. Happiness in Slavery was like one of my favorite songs back in high school. And then Wish is also one that I knew from that album. And then they played it
hmm.
live. I was like, holy shit, I forgot about this song. It was great. And Last is another good one. Like, it's weird seeing them live a couple of weeks ago made me forget, like, remember how many songs I've forgotten.
Hmm.
And yeah, like just like realizing how many I actually still knew was really good. We will then just jump straight to the downward spiral, as you kind of said already, Naf. Like that's where Nine Inch Nails kind of found their feet, hit the mark, were on
Mm,
the map for music. Obviously, the number one played song I think is Closer, and it's this incredible song. But obviously, it was more the whole controversial kind of tone around it at the time. I want to fuck you like an animal. The video, I'm pretty sure, was like quite raunchy and graphic as well. So back in the 90s, this was a 94, yeah, 94.
way ahead of its time, man.
Still, yeah, way ahead of its time, but also still very controversial in
Yeah, of
comparison to
course.
things back then. But then you've got incredible songs like Piggy, March of the Pigs, which again was phenomenal live. Closer, The Becoming, Racer, Reptile was another one they played, and then you've got the super well-known song, but maybe not because of Nine Inch Nails, Hurt. Both versions are very good. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, Nine Inch Nails did it first, so it's got to be better. We were
Did
discussing.
you prefer one though? Do you have a preference?
We was discussing this. Depends on what mood you're in.
If you're in a real down bad mood and like really dark and depressed, Johnny Cash's version is just that hauntingly hits right.
Yeah.
But if you want to enjoy the song, I think Nine Inch Nails version is so much better.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Johnny Cash version because I do like Johnny Cash, but I feel like you are right in terms of this sort of situation is what makes it hit, and that Johnny Cash's is like full on, full broad bore regression and not aggression, depression and regret.
Yeah.
While I feel like Trent Reznor's is a bit more sort of like grimy hurt. I mean, how do I say that?
It's like a breakup song.
Yeah.
Cash's version is like, I'm about to write a suicide note type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
I like both of them, but obviously it just shows how good that Nine Inch Nails version of Hurt was for someone like Johnny Cash to want to consider to cover it. And then obviously, if anything, it probably got people who didn't know Nine Inch Nails awareness around them.
Definitely.
Because they'd look at Hurt or find out that it's actually a cover of a band. You've probably found people moving into Nine Inch Nails, potentially not enjoying it, but at least they know of it.
I think it's a pretty crazy example of Trent Reznor's songwriting. You know, it wasn't just his musicianship that made Nine Inch Nails. It's the fact that his lyrics are so potent that even with just a basic acoustic guitar with the sort of Johnny Cash version, you can transform those lyrics into something almost entirely different with a totally different tone, yet still have that same core message applied, which is really quite awesome, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for people who don't know who Nine Inch Nails or Trent Reznor is, you've probably heard him somewhere along the lines. I mean, we were just discussing this off camera, but he's a frequent collaborator with David Fincher in a lot of his films. He did The Social Network, he did Gone Girl. I'm pretty sure he did The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Like, he does a lot of the production and kind of composing the scores for those films.
Yeah.
And they have that kind of gritty industrial, like Nine Inch Nails vibe to them. You know, again, because me and my friend were obsessed with Nine Inch Nails in school when like The Social Network came out and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, you just hear bits of like score and we'd be like, that's Trent Reznor. But like, we know who that is. We know who that is. Edgelords. But that was just how we kind of were with this band. We were obsessed. And I mean, we move on to 1999, where, you know, we get to The Fragile, the double album back in the day. A lot, you know, it's some of it's like quite instrumental. There's quite a bit of, I wouldn't say filler, but there's a lot of music is filled out with just instrumental stuff. But there's some still really good stuff. You know, I mean, the big ones for me is, you know, The Day the World Went Away. It's just an incredible song, just haunting. The Wretched as well. I used to listen to that actually playing Gears of War because of the Wretches.
Oh God. How did I know you were going to say that?
Yeah, so, you know, We're in This Together, the actual song, The Fragile, Just Like You Imagined, The Great Below, Into the Void, Where Is Everybody? One that I like, but there's controversy around it now, is Starfuckers Inc.
Oh, yeah.
So that song, one, doesn't date too well, but two, Marilyn Manson is in the music video. Trent Reznor and Marilyn Manson had quite a good like musical relationship back in the 90s. So I haven't listened to that song in an absolute ton of time. It was one of my favorites back in high school. It was like a quite edgy song to listen to. It was like, my God, sits in the back of a limousine and all that sort of stuff. It was like sassy, like edgy, like, oh, he's saying God's a bit of stuff like what?
It's atheism shit, man.
Yeah. And then my all-time favorite from this album now, without a doubt, is A Big Come Down. Got such a weird like guitar. It almost sounds like the guitar strings like breaking as he's playing. But it's just a phenomenal song. It was a huge kind of grow song on me a couple of years ago. I think I just re-stumbled onto it and I was like, holy shit, this is an amazing song. Again, so they've got an album. I'm not sure if it's an EP. I'm pretty sure it is an EP. with like live songs and stuff, but still. And the only reason I want to quickly mention that is because and All That Could Have Been is from that. I don't know if that was the first time it came up, but that's where I first heard it, from 2002. Another soft, slow one, and that's the thing with Nine Inch Nails is they can go, quite insane with the kind of music and stuff, but then they can go really strip it back with stuff like Hurt, Day the World Went Away.
I mean,
All
they literally do it within the same song with March of the Pigs.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't it make you feel better? And then it just eviscerates your ears like immediately after.
Whereas All That Could Have Been is kind of like Something I Could Never Have, and it's just throughout. But his vocals are so good at it. And again, they played that live, and my mate literally went when he sang the final lyric. He was like, I had chills. He was like, literal chills, literal chills. Then we get to, as Ben kind of said, 2005, and we get to the big kind of mainstream, quote unquote, the more accessible album, I'd say. It's still industrial, but there's a bit more rock and a bit more guitar in it, is With Teeth. Personally, it's still my favorite album. I love it. I think I just hold a lot of attachment to it. And again, that probably comes from Wanted. This was the album we used to like playing Wanted Weapons of Fate, which we'll definitely have to cover someday. It was a sequel game to the film. I used to spam this album whilst I was playing it because of Every Day is exactly the same. But yeah, this album's just brilliant to me. It's probably the one album I listen to it back to front, no worries at all. All the Love in the World, such an incredible opener, like especially where it kind of like starts off like quite like not a beat, but it's got a bit of a beat to it, and then just breaks into a piano breakdown. Again, there's a lot of piano in Nine Inch Nails, and I'm here for it. I love songs with like pianos and violins and stuff. As Ben said, You Know What You Are, quite an aggressive
the drumming in that.
Yeah,
that intro. I think that's the hardest drumming I can think of. It goes fucking mad.
Yeah, 100%. The Hand That Feeds is their kind of one of the most popular songs as well. It's up there with Closer. Then you've got they're all good, but Every Day is exactly the same as we've discussed. I mean, that was an absolute moment for me watching that live. I didn't know they was going to play any songs from With Teeth. I wasn't sure, and he ended up playing 3 actually. He played Every Day is the Same, The Hand That Feeds, and then he played Only, which was another incredible one. The actual track With Teeth is one of my favourite songs of Nine Inch Nails. Again, it's got a bit of a sassy vibe to it. It's a bit like sexual. It's about about a girl who's quite sexual and quite controlling. Getting Smaller is another quite fast one. I love Sunspots as well. The bass in that's really cool. And then Right Where It Belongs, but I actually prefer the second version. So there's like a more stripped back kind of like piano instrumental version, which I much prefer. Again, I like the Nine Inch Nails that kind of strip it back, just a bit of a change up. And then we get to Year Zero, which was in 2007, and they opened up with The Beginning of the End, and again, phenomenal. That got me hyped for the gig straight away. It was one of my favourites from Year Zero. Another one back in high school I used to listen to an awful lot. And you've got tracks like Survivalism, Capital G, God Given, and The Great Destroyer. There's probably more, but they're the ones that kind of stood out for me. And then after that, like I said, I kind of disappeared because I know they released Ghosts in 2008, but I never really got along with it. And then there was just a few, as the years went by, as Spotify came in and YouTube, I'd just put on playlists and I'd hear new ones. So I heard like I heard Discipline from The Slip, which was in 2008. Then obviously they came back in 2013, and like me and my mate straight away were like messaging like, holy shit, they're back. They came back with Hesitation Marks. I listened to it on a first listen when it came out because I was excited, but not a lot. I didn't really end up going back to it much. Probably give it another go. There's some good stuff on there, but I just never really followed on with it. And yeah, then I think the latest effort that I kind of followed on with was Bad Witch in 2018. Weirdly enough, I only knew that album had came out because the director of The Raid, who I followed on Instagram, posted about Shit Mirror, the song. He was like, this is a banger. I was like, well, if the director of The Raid likes it and it's Nine Inch Nails, I'm there for it. And he wasn't wrong. It's an incredible song. So yeah, that's kind of my journey with Nine Inch Nails. But I just kind of wanted to talk about it because we had, I've had the gig. It meant a lot to me in high school. It played into my, wanting to watch Terminator, and like that was another part of that journey. Was Nine Inch Nails and Terminator kind of a hand in hand? Nine Inch Nails and Wanted were kind of hand in hand. And this album, not album, but this band, but especially with Teeth, is one that I listen to quite often. Just takes me back to a different time. School wasn't exactly incredible for me, but the discovery of music and like all the things that I kind of found about myself because of music all came from high school. And now Nine Inch Nails, along with a few, as like I said, like Rage Against the Machine and Pearl Jam, they were kind of the first bands that I found either through myself or through my friends, not like from like parents or like the charts and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just means a lot to me because there's some bands that I don't, and this is a band for a while I didn't listen to, but not because I don't like them, just because it's the right place, right time. But recently, since seeing them, I've just almost found a new love for them, and I'm looking at new songs and like exploring them a bit more. Which I think it's exciting. It's nice to have that. For a while I kind of dipped off exploring bands or going back to bands. So that's me. Not as much as we are in our normal music episodes. But has anyone else got anything they want to talk about with Nine Inch Nails, or have I just waffled for an episode?
You necessarily waffled. No, I mean I totally appreciate them more. They weren't so much of an influence as the same with you in terms of my high school years or anything like that. But in terms of like musically and what opening my, I suppose, sonic senses to more the industrial sound and that sort of thing, I definitely totally appreciate for that. And again, they're not necessarily on my big, on repeat consistently, but they're definitely up there in terms of what I've listened to. So no, I think they're a superb band, and Trent Reznor definitely deserves all the recognition he gets for sort of particularly just trying the progression of the sound of Nine Inch Nails, as you said with Pretty Hate Machine. It feels very 80s, but like there's the seeds of something new and different there, which he really fucking perfected with the Downward Spiral, and that's awesome. Like it's like proto industrial, I suppose, but it's cool being able to track like a genre's progression through one band's discography alone. So that's pretty insane.
I mean, a few tidbits as well, actually. So Broken, the EP, that was that released first or after Downward Spiral? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was after, but it's maybe the same year. I might have this wrong now, so I'm going to look like a right twat. Let me just check. So Downward Spiral was 94 and Broken was 92. Oh, okay. Basically, from what I remember, my mate telling me, so again, this is why it could be wrong. Basically, they wanted like another Downward Spiral or Pretty Hate Machine. I can't remember which one. So instead of doing that, he scrapped like an album.
Yeah.
And released an EP instead. I'm pretty sure it was Pretty Hate Machine because Happiness and Slightly. I think it was. It was Broken.
Yeah.
So they wanted another Pretty Hate Machine because it was like new and a bit edgy. And he was like, I don't want to do it. And basically all the songs he'd done for like essentially what would have been the sequel album to that, he scrapped and then did Broken. And then Happiness and Slavery is about, how the studios want you to do as they say and they want, perfection and stuff. So there's a little tidbit there. And then just kind of off topic, but we love our memes and spoofs and stuff. On the way back from the gig, I can't remember what the YouTuber was called, but my mate was showing me it's like basically this guy on YouTube who like spoofs artists and how their songs are like basically put together. And he did one for Trent Reznor. He's like, "Oh, I've got an edgy opening." He's like, "Edgy opening, edgy opening." He's like, then a random sound comes in, and then he's like, the song's still going, but the chorus hasn't came in yet. It's been 5 minutes, but the chorus still hasn't come in yet. And he's like, upbeat chorus, bit of shouting back down to lower stuff. I'm hammering. I'm completely butchering it, but that was quite funny. I think you guys would kind of enjoy that. But it is true. Like going back and listening to Nine Inch Nails, there is almost kind of a sequence to it, and like because it's like you do get like random kind of noises popping in from nowhere.
It does get bizarre samples. Like that's definitely his deal with Trent Reznor.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
people like chanting and shit.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, the 2 EPs. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm.
So he's got a formula and it works really well. But yeah, they're a band that I don't avidly explore, like I've said, but they mean a lot to me. And that's why I just wanted to cover them, even if it is only a shorter one. Seeing them live kind of made me realise how much the band means to me personally, and actually how much of a journey I had with that band, especially through school. Like every day is exactly the same and right where it belongs. Like got me through some really shit days at school, as well as the other songs and other albums actually been like good points in my life, like playing the video games with you, going to the cinema, thinking of Terminator. So yeah, short one today, audience, but go listen to 9 Inch Nails. Basically, is what I'm saying. They're a fucking great band, and I think even there's probably a song for everyone in the midst of like the God knows how many albums and EPs are out there. I think you could find a song that at least like one person would pick out, or it would like kind of go out to anyone in the audience.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well, actually, live, is the audience was such a mixed bag. Like we genuinely thought it was going to be like an older audience because it's an older band. No, there was people younger than us. There was obviously people my age, and then you did have the older generation. But it was just so cool to see like such a mixed bag of people and like audience coming to see this one band that they clearly love, and it was awesome because you don't see that much. Like concerts we go to, you might have, it's like an older, like we went to see Hootie and the Blowfish. That was essentially like 40s and up, predominantly.
Not surprising, really.
And then you go, and then we like go to like Boston Manor, for example, or Neck Deep, and it's like 25 and downwards. Like I'm pushing the older end of that now. So yeah, 9 Inch Nails was just such a mixed bag, and it was so great to see. Like it was a rarity. So yeah, that was it for us today, guys. Just a shorter one, but 9 Inch Nails are fucking great, and you should give them a listen. If you need an introductory album, I would say With Teeth, and then go from there. But tune in next week for hopefully a bit more of a more in-depth episode and a completely different topic. Thank you.